guys, today's title of discussion is maxillary sinus. Maxillary sinus is one of the paranasal sinuses that we see in the maxilla. Before we go into the maxillary sinus proper, we should try and understand the arrangement of the paranasal sinuses. What are paranasal sinuses? These are basically invaginations from the nasal cavity that drain into the spaces associated with the nose, especially the lateral wall of the nose. So if this is the nose, and this will be of course the medial wall, and here is the lateral wall, just a diagrammatic representation to show the placement of paranasal sinuses. So these two are the lateral walls of the nose, and here we have one set of air sinuses here. You can extend the wall. So this is one set of air sinus. Here is there are the other two here, and see, this is the lateral wall, and it has few conchae, superior conchae, middle, and the inferior conchae, and here is the hiatus semilunaris on the lateral wall. All this we are seeing from the other side, just imagine. And here is the posterior part of the hiatus semilunaris, through which we see the ostium, the opening of the sinus called the maxillary sinus. Only part of it what we see here. Okay, just like this, just a diagram. So these are basically the invaginations, as I explained, from the nasal cavity that drain into the spaces associated with the lateral wall of the nose. And what these sinuses are, what are the sinuses that we have named? So drawn here, this is the first one, that is the frontal sinus, a pair of frontal sinus, then a pair of ethmoidal sinus, then a pair of sphenoidal air sinuses, then we have a pair of maxillary air sinus. Now, this maxillary sinus is what is the topic of interest today. However, these sinuses are placed in their respective bones. The frontal sinus is placed in the frontal bone, sphenoidal sinus in the sphenoid, and here the ethmoidal sinus in the ethmoid plate bone, and here maxillary sinus inside the maxilla. Just to see how these air sinuses are arranged in the skull bone, I have just drawn this diagram. This is the face. Here you can see a space like this in the frontal bone, and these are the frontal sinuses. Here are the two, it's placed way posterior into the skull bone, and these are the two air spaces called as sphenoidal, and here it is slightly anterior to the sphenoidal air sinuses. These are the ethmoid air sinuses, and here is a big pyramidal shaped air sinus, pair of air sinuses, and they are the maxillary air sinus, and all of these open into the lateral wall of the nose. So this is frontal, this is sphenoidal, this is ethmoidal, and this is maxillary air sinus. To help understand the placement of these paranasal sinuses, I am using these small props. This is the skull bone with this is the frontal facial region, and this is the opened cranium. Here we have the orbital spaces, nasal cavity, and now to see where do we see the frontal air sinus, we see it in this region. Okay, in the frontal bone we see here the frontal air sinuses, and we see the ethmoidal sinuses here. and we see the sphenoidal air sinuses here, pair of this sitting above which will be the pituitary gland in the sella turcica region. So these are all the air sinuses, and the air sinus of our interest is the maxillary sinus sitting inside this bone here. This is the anterior wall, and it is a pyramidal structure with the base facing this lateral wall of the nose, and inside here is the maxillary sinus. What are the functions of these sinuses? These sinuses make the skull lighter. They add resonance to the voice. They humidify and warm the air. Some of the sinuses, especially the maxillary sinus, they produce bactericidal lysosomes which are poured into the nasal cavity, and that gives the bactericidal action to the secretions in the nose. And so this is about the sinuses, all the sinuses. Now coming to the sinus of today's interest, that is maxillary sinus. Of course, when these sinuses are infected, we call it as sinusitis. The maxillary sinus, it's also called as antrum of Highmore because of the person called Nathaniel Highmore in 1651 who first described in detail the morphology of the maxillary sinus. Hence it's called as antrum of Highmore. What is the importance of it? This sinus is the first one to develop. It is the largest sinus of all the sinuses, and we can see this sinus in the Caldwell's view, through the Caldwell's view in radiology, radiographic appearance, and we also can see it through Waters' view. Just few tips to remember about the maxillary sinus. This is a small prop to understand the surfaces of this pyramid, assuming that this is a pyramidal structure, that is what is basically the maxillary sinus. We have 4 surfaces: superior, anterior, inferior and posterior surfaces, and a base for this pyramid, and this base corresponds to the lateral wall of the nose. So if we could place this pyramid inside this cavity here, this would be the maxillary sinus, where the base facing the lateral wall and the apex facing the zygoma here. Now the superior surface is basically which corresponds to the orbital surface, above which will be the eyeball. Then the anterior surface is basically facing the facial bones, that is maxilla, the facial part of it. Then the inferior surface is the alveolar process, it corresponds to the alveolus, and the posterior surface is basically the infratemporal region. And the lateral wall is the base will be the lateral wall of the nose, and the contents of it will be draining through an opening from the middle meatus, below which is the hiatus semilunaris. There is in the posterior part of this hiatus semilunaris, there is an opening through which the contents of the maxillary sinus will be drained. So here are the surfaces. This is the orbital surface, this is the anterior facial surface, this is basically the pyramid apex here, and we have the inferior surface going like this. This is the alveolar process, and the posterior surface facing the infratemporal region. Hope this was easy for you to understand the location of the maxillary sinus. Now coming to the clinical significance of maxillary sinus, as we know that the floor of the maxillary sinus, the inferior wall, is made by the alveolar process. So it's obvious that the roots of the premolars and molars are in close proximity with the floor of the maxillary sinus. So any infection, so this way they are in direct link, oral cavity and the maxillary sinus are in direct link. So any infection from these teeth can spread to the maxillary antrum. Now if we are not very careful while extraction or while handling the apicals of these teeth, can cause the formation of oroantral fistula. Now the histologic features of maxillary sinus. Histologically, there are three layers in maxillary sinus. The first layer is epithelial layer. Which is made up of majority of pseudostratified columnar ciliated epithelium. Apart from this group of cells, we have few basal cells, few mucus producing cells, we have few secretory goblet cells, and of course we should also learn about the cilia. Now the pseudostratification is mainly because of the arrangement of cells. The cells are actually single layered, but the nucleus is placed at different levels in the cytoplasm, giving us pseudostratification. Now these are all the columnar cells, and these pseudostratified, these columnar ciliated cells are they do not have regenerative capacity. So to support the damage of these cells or degeneration of these cells, there is a group of basal cells and even the mucus cells. They all repair and replace the damaged cells, and also these basal cells support the goblet cells and the columnar cells. So these are the support cells and they have the regenerative capacity, because this group of ciliated epithelial cells do not have regenerative capacity. Now the mucus cells and the goblet cells produce the mucus content and they secrete into the lumen, and they form a film of mucus onto the epithelium, which that mucus film will be beaten rhythmically and expelled into the nasal cavity by the cilia. These cilia are the hair-like structures that we see on the pseudostratified epithelium, and these cilia are made up of specifically 9+1 pair of microtubules. And the function of which is to beat whatever comes into the surface. The one is the mucus material, then the bacteria, then the foreign body, whatever comes onto the surface, they beat rhythmically in one direction, and that will be thrown into the nasal cavity through the ostium maxillare. Another interesting thing is these cilia do not work under the control of any nerve. They are autonomous. They just beat rhythmically whenever there is a challenge posed to them. Now, next layer is the basal lamina, upon which these epithelial cells are seated. Now, we'll just draw few epithelial cells, this pseudostratification, to understand better when we are drawing on the circle, inside the circle. So now this is the basement membrane. We have few basal cells in between. We can just draw a few basal cells like this, and we have the columnar cells. And there are basal cells again. They are pseudostratifications. Then Then there are ciliated cells, and then few non-ciliated cells, and also we have goblet cells, all of those cells. Now what are goblet cells? Goblet cells are kind of secretory cells which are shaped like a wine glass. So these are the wide opened narrow stalked cells with the nucleus in the basal region, and in between we can have the basal cells which support these goblet cells, and again we have the columnar cells, and in between we have the mucus cells too. So we have a mucus cell like this, and again columnar cells and the mucus cells. So such combination of cells we can do. So we have nucleus placed here, and in between here in the basal cells, and at different locations in the columnar cells, giving a pseudostratification, appearance of pseudostratification. Sorry. These are the mucus cells. The content of all these cells we will be discussing during drawing. Now we have these ciliation, and in between you can leave few cells which are non-ciliated, and goblet cells will have the secretory granules, and of course mucus cells, and this is how the ciliation goes. So this is basically the pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium and other cells in the epithelium. Now coming to the subepithelial zone, where we see the collagenous fibrous stroma, that is subepithelial. Third layer is the subepithelial connective tissue, which has collagen fibers, which has of course ground substance, we have fibroblasts, there are blood vessels and nerves, and very classic structures are the seromucous glands in combination or given as single units, as in serous glands and mucous glands, clusters of it. And this whole thing, it's called as the lamina propria. To this layer is attached to the periosteum of the maxilla. Now we shall start drawing, and of course these seromucous glands open to the through the excretory ducts into the lumen, and they secrete the contents of their cells, that is the mucin and all the other secretory granules, which will be beaten and taken to the nose through the cilia. When I said about this goblet, this is what I meant. This is a wine glass. Goblets are basically thin stalked, wide mouthed wine glasses, and these cells resemble the goblet, hence they are called as the goblet cells. The secretion of these glands consists of water, neutral lipids, proteins, carbohydrates, and mucus secretion, which consists of glycoproteins and mucopolysaccharides. Start drawing this histology of maxillary sinus. We need a nice circle and hematoxylin and eosin pencil and a lead pencil to label the diagram later. Now whatever content that we have learnt in the discussion part, the same thing we will be drawing here. So we need a basement membrane. Use a sharp pencil. This is a basement membrane. You can make a nice thicker basement membrane. See, basically this is a respiratory epithelium which has come from the middle meatus and entered the maxillary sinus, and so the structure is similar to the respiratory epithelium as we have already discussed, but it is just a little bit thinner compared to the respiratory epithelium. So we draw the columnar epithelium, and in between we will be drawing few basal cells. And few goblet cells in between. and few mucus cells. Once we draw this epithelium, we draw the nucleus. Nucleus in the basal cells and in the columnar cells at different layers. Even in the columnar cells, they are located in different layers in the cytoplasm, giving the appearance of pseudostratification. And we make the content of the cells. The mucus cells and the goblet cells will make slightly bluish tinge to the secretion. Now we make the ciliation. So we just draw striations on top of these cells. In between you can leave few cells to show that they are non-ciliated cells. So this is how we draw the epithelium on the basement membrane. Now we shall do the connective tissue part, that is the lamina propria part. So we have few collagen fibers, fibroblasts, blood vessels, and the seromucous glands. So we can draw the seromucous glands with a sharp pencil. This is the mucus gland and a serous cap. We drew the pyramidal cells, leaving a larger lumen. Here, pyramidal cells, like this, and few more mucus and serous glands to show the clusters of cells, clusters of acini, sorry. So we'll darken all these components. And a portion of the bone, that is the mucoperiosteum. Now we make the nucleus in all these components, the fibroblasts, the blood vessels, and the glands. The mucus glands have flattened nucleus at the basal portion, and serous have circular round nucleus in the basal third. And the cell cytoplasm has bluish tinge, that is the mucin in the mucus glands, and secretory granules of the serous glands in the apical portion of the serous acini. Now we make the ground substance, making all this area pink, that is with the using pencil. We don't shade the lumen of the blood vessel or the seromucous acid glands with pink. We just left them only the extracellular, extraglandular space. We color it with pink, and also the bony area, bony tubercle area, and of course the periosteal region. And bone we can do slightly bluish with osteocytes inside. nucleus in the center. The trabeculae showing more hematoxophilic staining, and the ground substance. So this is pretty much the drawing of maxillary sinus. We shall start labeling them. So this is the histologic diagram of maxillary sinus. Here is the epithelial layer consisting of pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium. Mucus cells, a few goblet cells, we can even label the basal cells. So all the cells of the epithelium we have labeled, and of course the cilia. Now the connective tissue, or the lamina propria, consisting of collagen fibers, fibroblasts, blood vessels, etc., and the seromucous glands. Now this is the region of periosteum, because of which this maxillary sinus lining is called as mucoperiosteum, because it has mucus layer and the periosteum. This is the periosteal region, and this is all the labeling of maxillary sinus. Hope you liked it. Please feel free to comment on this. If you have any more queries, please ask me in the channel. Thank you. See you all. Bye.